Hello, divine friends, Jen here, and I'm excited to talk to you in this video a little bit about cacao, where it comes from, what you'll be experiencing, and what the magic behind cacao is in ceremony. So let's get started. I'm so excited. So Jen Rodriguez, I am a theta healer, instructor, and practitioner, and I'm your master energy intuitive. And I'm going to guide you, of course, into this beautiful cacao ceremony. So whenever you are watching this video, whether you're watching it for the summer, the winter, the fall equinox, we're going to have so much fun, and it's going to be such a lovely time. So let's talk a little bit about where cacao originated. And so cacao ceremonies are actually centuries old. They're rituals that were seen as the ultimate heart opener. So known to originate in Mesoamerica, today it's known as Guatemala and Mexico. But prehistoric cultures considered cacao a sacred and valuable crop. So the arrival of the Spaniards actually began to alter systems, production methods, and eventually leading it to what we have today, the crop known as chocolate. But this originated with the Olmec culture. And if maybe you've seen Aztec, but there's also the Olmec, there's also the Mayan, and the Olmec culture is known to be the civilization before the Aztecs and before the Mayans, dating back to 2000 to 1000 BC. They were probably the first to create the rituals that we see today regarding cacao beans, turning them into chocolate. So it was this mysterious civilization, which, by the way, they just vanished, according to tech scientists, philanthropists, and the Smithsonian's. This mysterious civilization of the Olmec just vanished out of thin air. Then we have the Mayan culture, which we're more familiar with, and we have the Aztec culture as well. But the Olmec culture was the original ones to do rituals with cacao. They also offered it as blood sacrifice. Cacao was mostly known to be with the elites as well. And so cacao in its pure form was traditionally used for years as medicine, currency, in celebrations and ceremonies, for funerals, for weddings. So also to be the gift of the bride, also to be the dowry of the bride, essentially. The Smithsonians have a report with Montezuma was actually consuming about 50 cups of cacao. Now, I do not recommend anybody consume 50 cups of cacao in one day, but because of his power and status, he was consuming about 50 cups a day. For also health reasons, I do not suggest anybody do that as well, because it is a heart opener. It's doing something physically as both as energetically, and physically it will raise your heart rate. So we'll get into that in a little bit as to why. So here we have, we're all familiar with chocolate in one way or another. What many people don't know is how chocolate ends up as chocolate. So Willy Wonka sure made it seem like there was an endless river of chocolate to tap into, but unfortunately there is not. It actually comes from a crop. It's a crop. So it starts off as a seed in a pod on a tree, much like this. So yep, cacao is made from the fruit of a cacao tree. It's plant-based, it's vegan, it's soy-free. Yeah, so a lot of people did not know this, and I love that. So turning cacao into chocolate is a simple 4-step process that involves physics and chemistry. So not so simple, huh? But if we look at this video here, we see this man pulling out the fruit, right, into these crates. And so that's the fruit that we're going to be using to turn it into chocolate. The seeds then go through a fermentation process. So they put it into the crates, right? And then they're going through a fermentation process. And many farms the farms that produce the ceremonial grade cacao, they all have a signature taste to their ceremonial grade cacao. And that's all based on the type, class of cacao tree and the intricacy of the fermentation process, meaning the temperatures change, they rotate the crop, they turn it, the time that it's going to ferment for, they wait for it to reach a certain temperature, and after a couple of either hours or days, or kind of moving the crop, so airing it, making sure that the fermentation process, the bacteria is getting also its sugar, its air that it needs to really start, you know, create the cooking the cacao, essentially, because fermentation really processes the sugars and the alcohols, and it creates a lot of heat. That chemistry that's going on there, every farm has its own fermentation process, and that's really what gives the distinct flavor to each bean that you receive. There's many cacao, ceremonial grade cacao, that comes from all over the world. We have from Costa Rica, Peru, Mexico, Guatemala, Venezuela. And if you have the opportunity to buy any of these beautiful cacaos, you'll see that the taste is different, and this is why. So yeah, so here they're putting the cacao beans to aerate. Okay, so in all the process of picking, fermenting, drying, roasting, and grinding, this process takes about 6 weeks, give or take, from cacao bean, okay, from cacao tree, all the way to being a chocolate bar. So it's much like coffee has a process, right? The drying and roasting, so does cacao. So once the beans have been sun-dried, they're actually sun-dried. So this is the drying portion of it. So they take them out of the fermentation. Let me run this again. So they're putting them in crates, right? They're going to leave them for fermentation for a couple of days in these crates here. This crate looks really thin. The depth isn't as big. It looks like maybe like 4 inches of depth. But mass production sometimes have like 10-foot crates of cacao. It also depends how much cacao each farm is churning. Not a lot of farms have mass production of cacao, but the most I've seen are probably like 10-foot crates. So then after they check the consistency, they look at the color of the bean. Right here, they're looking at the color of the bean to see if it's right. They're probably going to put a thermometer in this and check if the temperature is right. Based on all these conditions, then what they're going to do is take it out of these crates, and they're going to put it, usually, depending on the farm, this one seems to be putting it on a plastic nylon, I think it is, to aerate. This is a mesh, essentially. This is a mesh so that it aerates. And usually they'll sun dry it. Then they'll rake it to make sure that every single bean really gets sun dried. Okay, making sure this process can probably take a couple of hours. Sometimes it can take a couple of days, depending on the conditions, the weather of the country, the place, the origin of the cacao. Once it is dried, then they go ahead and collect it. And then once they have dried the beans, then they are deshelled, usually by hand. So they're being cracked open, and then the delicious, yummy chocolate nib is going to be exposed. Okay. So this is usually done by hand, and in certain small family farms, this process really allows the community to come together, to connect, share stories, update each other on their lives, and basically they enjoy a moment working together here. Sometimes there's the farm that I received my cacao from usually has this process. I know other farms in Guatemala as well have women coming around and just doing this, coming together, just sharing stories and connecting, laughing. You'll often see them laughing. I didn't put any pictures or video of this because I couldn't find a specific farm or picture that I really wanted to share. But yeah, this is the process that they'll be doing. So as cacao began to get industrialized over the years, companies began to use cacao in many different ways. Oftentimes, they began to treat the cacao. So they began to treat it by removing certain aspects of it, such as the fat. So this is my little graphic that I made from bean to bar. So this meant that once the cacao beans were cleaned, fermented, sun-dried, shelled, grounded, then the ceremonial grade cacao paste. And so this is the paste right here. This is the paste right here that you're seeing. This is ceremonial grade cacao right here. And this is what you have that came into your cacao kit that you received in the mail. This is what I have. Now, companies buy this. And so factories get this shipped out. Okay, and they get this turned into a cocoa liqueur. And this means that they can now treat it to do whatever they need to do to make confectionery, bakery, put it in candy, and make actually a chocolate, much like Hershey's, or you've seen the dark chocolates. Now, ceremonial grade cacao paste is 100% dark chocolate. Anything that does not say 100% dark chocolate essentially is already been through this process right here. So that's probably everything you see at stores. Yeah. So treating it often means they remove certain aspects of it, such as the fat, or they add things such as sugar, milk, and other additives or preservatives to be able to use it in, like I said, bakeries, candy, cakes, and things like that. So cocoa liqueur gets turned into, gets pressed and treated to get cocoa butter. And then other uses, or it's a standalone product, is cocoa, but cocoa butter is essentially the fat of chocolate, which is a shame because if you've ever had a bulletproof coffee, and if you ever had bulletproof coffee, right, and you add MCT oil, or you add coconut oil, essentially that's MCT oil, that's the chain of the coconut amino acid, or you add ghee butter, you're essentially adding a fat source to the bulletproof coffee. If you've never looked at bulletproof coffee, I suggest you look at it. It's pretty cool, pretty amazing. It's like a little fad to try, but essentially it gives you energy and it gives you a boost. And adding that fat content, whether it's the amino acid of the coconut oil, the MCT, or the ghee butter, it's a fat that allows the coffee to be absorbed so that you can have clarity. Usually it's known as a nootropic, and nootropics are good for giving you clarity to the mind, to the brain, allowing blood flow, circulation to flow to the brain so that you can be able to think better. So if you have bulletproof coffee in the morning, it's not like any other coffee. It's specific like coffee that it's coffee, but it won't give you the jitters, it won't make you crash, or it won't give you the 2 p.m. slump essentially. So it's a really cool, like, steady of energy coffee. Now, the reason I'm saying this is because ceremonial grade cacao does not have caffeine, but it acts much like the coffee. So the coffee of bulletproof coffee, it naturally, you don't need to add anything to it, it naturally has its fat. In fact, probably if you look at your cup right now, or when you're ready to do the ceremony alongside with me, you'll notice how thick and fatty it is. And that's actually a good thing. That fat is gonna allow the substance of the cacao, all the vitamins, minerals that are in that cacao to be absorbed more easily into the bloodstream, into the body. And so we need that to be able to have the full effect of this beautiful plant medicine, okay? And the feeling they're gonna start to feel is much like your heart's gonna be racing because fresh blood is gonna be pumped through your body. You're gonna be feeling more mental clarity. You're gonna be feeling your energy starts to open up because it's the energy of it is gonna hit the heart chakra, right? So that's the beauty of the cacao that you're receiving. So anything, let me see what else I want to say on this. Let me see. Okay, yeah. So then we have a cocoa cake. Okay, then we have cacao powder and cocoa powder. Now there's a difference between these two, and these you can find at your local like Whole Foods or like Trader Joe's, but they're different because one of them has been heated and treated. So the more heat the cacao receives, the more you're killing the nutritional properties in it. So not a good idea to do that. But so many people think that they're doing cacao ceremonies at home with cocoa powder or cacao powder. But the difference is that one is heated, and that's the cocoa powder. And that kills off anything and everything that was left to resemble ceremonial grade cacao or actual chocolate. And it gets treated so that it can get processed through the FDA, and it can get approved through the FDA so that it can be used in certain food elements or be sold in stores. But pretty much all of the nutritional components are gone. So the other thing is that almost all companies, all factories, once they purchase the ceremonial grade cacao and they're going to start to use it, almost all companies remove the fat once it arrives to the factories. And so this created an enormous amount of byproduct of cocoa butter, which is fat. So not wanting to lose any profit, right? Companies not wanting to lose any profit. They wanted to like make sure they used everything and they earned for it. They started to take this waste and they began to use it, treat it, and sell it. And today it's most commonly known as white chocolate. So fun fact for you there about white chocolate. Okay. So this is what you have today in your cup. It probably looks like this, and it will look thick. It will look thick and it will taste a little bit bitter. So you want to add some honey to it. Usually I personally add agave to it. Agave is a great sweetener that does not spike up your blood pressure. And so we want to keep things even also, because the cacao naturally will spike up our heart rate, naturally spike up our blood pressure a little bit, but in a healthy, organic way. So you can also add honey. You can also add coconut sugar as your sweeteners, or if you prefer any other sweetener, that's your choice. You can also add a little bit of cayenne pepper, just a pinch, and that's going to open up your capillaries to allow the blood flow to feel less constrictive and more easygoing on your body. So you will experience a little bit of heat coming from your body, and it won't be a lot. It'll just be like, ooh, okay, like you kind of did a light jog or something, And so in the ceremony, I'll guide you through breath work, and I'll guide you through your feelings and your experience so you can properly take all of this in. It's pretty fun. It's pretty amazing to connect the mind and the body to these sensations. So that's what you have. It's a thick drink. It's a fatty drink, and it is a bitter drink. So I definitely suggest you put a little bit of sweetener if this is your first time ever doing cacao. Okay, so that's a little bit behind the cacao. So my journey, I believe that when you and I heal, the world heals. And when I first went to my first ever cacao ceremony, I just saw, ooh, chocolate and meditation. And I'm like, yes, let's do this. What I didn't know was that cacao was going to be the star player. And I did not know how. So at the time, I didn't know that it was such a heart opener. I didn't understand what that meant. And I remember taking cacao, and I remember that I went into meditation and I contemplated self-love. And so I contemplated self-love, and what ended up happening was kind of like I started to feel the love for myself in every cell of my body. Like contemplating self-love for over 45 minutes led me to have such an experience with myself, such a connection with my body, such a connection with my inner being, that after the 45 minutes, I just felt different. Like I went with my sister, and I actually felt more happy, more joyous, more connected to my sister. I felt really, really happy. And all I did was take ceremonial grade cacao, and I went into meditation. And I thought, ooh, isn't this interesting? Whatever this experience was of self-love, of loving every cell in my body, I want people to experience this. And in 2019, I received the green light, essentially, in another meditation. the spirit of cacao came to me, and it was represented as a male form. It kind of looked like an Aztec Mayan chief, and he was kind of like, it's time for you to host cacao ceremonies. And I was not ready, I was not prepared, but he gave me detailed instructions, and he told me how to guide people in opening up their hearts and doing really good internal work. So today I pair up the heart opening cacao alongside contemplative journaling questions, which we'll get into in the ceremony, so that we can really clear the heart energy. So my journey since then has unfolded with so much ease, so much grace. These cacao ceremonies actually have a life all on their own, because they just keep coming and coming, and people keep coming, and it keeps growing. And I've been so honored and so grateful for this experience. So here I've been hosting cacao ceremonies since 2019. And this was in Studio City, and this was for an organization, a nonprofit organization with a team members of about 24. Since then, because of the pandemic hitting, I figured out a different way to do them. Now I do them virtually, and I've been doing virtual cacao ceremonies since then. Like I said, it's been such an amazing journey growing. And we have repeat customers that keep coming back, because no ceremony is the same. Every ceremony is special, every ceremony is different, and every time that you do these ceremonies, you're at a different point in your life. I do them every 3 months, so a lot can happen in 3 months, and it's a great check-in point for yourself, for your energy, for your mindset, and for your heart chakra. So yeah, we celebrate these on the solstices and equinoxes, because there's special times, special energies where we're receiving the energy of the sun, and we can clear a lot of stagnant energy. When we do the winter one, ooh, I love that, because we're getting ready to go into a hibernation state. When we do the spring one, we're getting ready to welcome in new intentions. And so the summer one is really to break any stagnant energy around patterns and cycles. It's a great check-in for the half-year mark. So let's talk a little bit about the chakras. Probably you already know about the chakras. We have 7 energy points that are like vortices of light, right? And so the heart opening medicine, that is cacao, is gonna work with the heart chakra. So the heart chakra is the one that says, I love. And so this chakra is formed by the time we are between 22 and 28 years old. This chakra wants to experience life to the fullest between those ages. It wants to connect with people. It wants to find a community. It wants to find a significant other. Maybe it's in the process of it or already has one. And that's the time that this heart energy begins to form, develop, expand, sometimes even shrink. And it creates really patterns in our subconscious mind that are playing out from childhood. Love that. So we know we have this electromagnetic field around us, and this electromagnetic field is really being created by the heart chakra. So this electromagnetic field can be anywhere from 3 feet to 10 feet wide, and it's all based on how open or how closed your heart chakra is. And it's basically what makes you kind of like when you walk into the room and people kind of like turn to you, or you see that person that walks into the room and everybody just turns to them. This person is so magnetic. This person is so happy, so joyful. And that's really what the heart chakra is. People are sensing their electromagnetic field coming from their heart. So it's 80 to 90% responsible for your aura. It's the chakra that can balance your masculine and feminine energy. The reason being is because it's right in the middle. The lower chakras are your male energy, and the higher chakras are your female energy. And so it being right in the middle, right in the center, it has the ability to balance both masculine and femininity within you. It can help you manifest easier and effortlessly as long as we have this heart field energy open. So this is how we can manifest, by having this open. It's the chakra that can help you in creating new and strengthening existing relationships. So I wanted to do a little basics on balancing the heart chakra. So we may have an underactive or overactive heart chakra, and it's all based on these feelings or emotions. Now, the ideal thing would be to have it balanced, right? Right here in the middle, right here in the sweet spot. So not too shy and timid and not overly like empathetic or like giving ourselves too much to people, right? Between feeling lonely and feeling like we have support and encouragement, between feeling unwanted and unloved, to having a lot of support around us, right? So if you have an underactive chakra, you'll have, feeling like you're scared to reach out, feeling like you're being judged. You have lack of confidence. You might feel more lonely than usual. And if you have an overactive chakra, which can happen, you may have little or weak boundaries. You may have feelings of codependency, maybe depending on others for engagement or validation, maybe too attached to certain outcomes, too attached to wanting to manifest in a certain way, maybe too much self-care and not enough aligned action. Mhm. Okay, so what we're going to be talking about inside the cacao ceremony is going through the 3 R's. The 3 R's are what's going to really create that breakthrough healing, and I'll guide you through that as well. These are 3 emotions that I have found in myself, my clients, my students, that once we clear the 3 R's, resentment, rejections, and regrets, we'll be able to open up this heart field so that we can increase it from maybe 3 feet to all the way to 10 feet during the ceremony. We're going to pair it alongside intention work, and we're going to pair it alongside the theme of the ceremony that you will be joining. Okay, so I am excited. I can't wait to see you in there. I hope this video helped you understand a little bit more about the special drink that you're going to be taking. And if you have any other questions, definitely shoot me a DM over on Instagram, and I can't wait to see you in there. Till next time, bye.